Well, hey everybody, and welcome to this midweek review with Mr. John. Last week we talked about how Moses got some incredible help when he was a baby. This week and next week, I kind of want to continue with our Moses story, but I want to look at this just a little bit differently. I want to talk about how we can get stuck sometimes and how we can need help and reassurance to help us get away from these stuck moments. After everything happened with the birth of baby Moses last week that we talked about, and him being put into the basket, and all the mind-blowing things we talked about how Jochebed got to be the nanny of Moses after sending her son into the Nile River after a decree that all the baby boys would be thrown into the Nile. And it was just a miraculous story of how God's plan to have Moses as the deliverer come to fruition. It was just incredible how all this came about. But God helped all along the way. Now Moses, we know the story about Moses growing up as a prince of Egypt and all that stuff, and killing a guard who was beating an Israelite, and him fleeing into the desert, him spending about 40 years outside of Egypt. Really, he got married, he was living the life of a shepherd, just totally away from Egypt, and he's sitting there and he sees something very peculiar. He sees a bright light up into the mountains of Mount Sinai, and he decides to go investigate. Probably what any good shepherd would do, because maybe there's a fire and I've got to move the sheep or whatever. And so he goes up to investigate, and he comes upon something that probably does not make any sense to him. Wouldn't make any sense to me. I don't know if this would make sense to you, but he walks up to a bush that is on fire, and it's not being consumed by flames. The bush is there, but on fire. Now, Moses sees this, and he goes to investigate, when all of a sudden this probably big booming voice says, "Moses, Moses, take off your sandals, for the ground you are about to step on is holy ground." Which had to blow Moses' mind, right? A bush that's burning, that's not consuming, is now talking. But we know it's not the bush talking. We know it's God. But I love how he tells Moses in that moment that he is about to step on holy ground. We need to give God reverence. We need to worship God. We need to love him. But we need to give him the respect that he's due. And that's what he's telling Moses in this moment. Now Moses, probably curious to who this is answered, that question is answered by God himself. He says, "I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Joseph." God tells Moses exactly who he is. He is the Israelites' one true God. Now, Moses is sitting there. He's scared. He's worried when God continues talking to Moses, and Moses lays it out. He says, "Listen, I know. I have heard for the last 400 years, I have heard my people crying. I have heard them calling out for help, and I know they have been in bondage. I am here to give you the job, to commission you on this job, Moses, to go and set my people free." Now here is where Moses gets stuck. Moses is like, "But how am I? Is just me? It's me. Listen, I don't speak well." It's thought by theologians that Moses When he said that he does not speak well, it wasn't like he was not a good speaker in any way. Like some people get up and they can just give a speech and you're like, oh, wow. And some people get up there and you go, fall asleep. Moses probably thought he was more on the people aren't going to listen to me because they thought, theologians said that he had a speech impediment, that he did not speak well. He had a stutter or something like that, which he thought the people of Egypt and Pharaoh would not take him serious. He was stuck in himself, that he could not do this himself. It's like when we get our feet stuck in the mud. We sit there, we can look down at the situation and figure, oh man, this is bad. I'm stuck in the mud. I could be here forever. Or I could do something about it, or maybe somebody can help me with this. God reassures Moses. He says, listen, you're not doing this by yourself. I will be with you through this whole thing. When you go up to talk to Pharaoh and the Egyptians, I will be there. I will help you with the words. I will give you the words to say. They will come from me through you. Do not worry. Do not be afraid. I got your back, brother. That's what he's saying. He sounds like a brother. I got your back, brother. You know, and that's what God reassures. Sometimes we need that reassurance. Maybe we're stuck in the mud and we're too afraid to move because we know if we move, we might fall in face first and it could be just an ugly mess. And maybe we need the people around us to maybe give us a hand to pull us out, to make sure that there's something hard that we can step on to gradually get ourselves out of the mud so we don't fall. We need help sometimes, and God is there to reassure. Have you ever had a little brother or sister who maybe didn't know how to do something, and you were there to sit there and say, listen, I know you don't know how to kick the ball, but let me show you. So you kick the ball and then you give them a chance and they don't quite get it right. So you show them again and you help them and you show them and you try to teach them and you line them up and you get them to kick the ball. And eventually your little brother or sister is kicking the ball just like you do. Maybe not as hard, right? But you're helping them. You're reassuring them. You're giving them the support they need to move forward. And that in that moment is what Moses needed. Because if God doesn't reassure him, he probably doesn't go to Egypt. And when we go on with our story, the stuff might not happen. So guys, know that God has got your back. Always. Always got your back. So next week, we're going to talk about being stuck in a totally different way. Not stuck in doubt or fear, that we can kind of come out of with reassurance. We're going to talk about a different stuck. And we're going to talk about how Pharaoh was stuck and how his stuck was so much different than Moses's is. Guys, have a great week. We'll see you next time. Miss you. Love you. Hope you're feeling good. Hope you're doing good. Hope school's going great. Bye. Our memory verse is, my help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Psalms 121:2.